Today's podcast is about Gwen Lane. So, if you haven't heard of Gwen Lane, she is the owner of The LA Girl, the Instagram account, and the website, I'm assuming, as well. A little bit about her. She graduated business management economics. Her first job was in finance. Her corporate job was in entertainment and e-commerce industries. She's been working in digital marketing on social media for 12 plus years already. In September of 2014, she launched her very own lifestyle media company, The LA Girl. It started as a blog. A few months later, she knew she wanted it to make it a full-time job. In March of 2015, her first sponsored trip was with Ben & Jerry's. In May of 2016, her first paid brand deal was $100. In March of 2017, her first 5K brand deal. And in October of 2017, she quit her 9-to-5 job. So a little bit about how I've been introduced to her. So I ended up doing a course by Erica Vieira, which you guys are going to hear about very soon in the next couple of days. But the course did come with a few guest speakers, and one of the guest speakers was Gwen Lane from The LA Girl. From there, I learned a lot about her. She did a Zoom call, which if you don't know what a Zoom call is, it's very similar to like a Skype call, but a lot more people, I assume a lot more people will be able to come on this call. There are a little bit differences between Zoom and Skype, but Zoom is a lot more of like a professional kind of platform to do video calls on. I learned about her through that, and I've always been kind of curious because she is considered a influencer, but she also has different brands to kind of siphon off of that. So the LA Girl is her brand on LA and being an LA girl. And then she also has a brand with businesses. She is the founder of Spark Society, which is to build your six-figure influencer business. And she goes into detail on that in that little Spark Society. I have not purchased any of Gwen Lane's courses, but by the sounds of it, the way she speaks, the way she knows what she's talking about, I'm sure there is a lot of incredible information that she can teach from that. Another one of how I've gone closer into visualizing and seeing her and her brand is through various different podcasts. So Erica Vieira has the Power Hour, the YouTube Power Hour podcast. So she does talk a lot about YouTubers, and Gwen Lane was one of them. Another person is, of course, Brittany Crystal has a podcast with Gwen Lane. So there's all these different people that I follow, and it kind of always meshed together and merged in with Gwen Lane. So I started becoming a lot more curious, learning about her, and just really what she represents, and just hearing a little bit about her as we already have. Now, one of the things that she has mentioned is it really does take time, and for the people who are looking for an overnight solution or a few month solution, it's not going to happen, and it's asking yourself, are you in it for the long run? That's one of the things she had mentioned. I'm not sure if she said this in Brittany Crystal's podcast or in her own podcast, because I have been paying attention to a lot of podcasts and listening to a lot of podcasts recently. This is something that's so important for people to understand. If you want something for the long run, you can't be making short-term decisions. You have to be making long-term decisions. And what I mean by that is you still have to do things in the short term. You still have to take action in the short term in order to still get this short-term results as well. But focusing on the long term in the end is how you should drive your short-term actions, is through this long-term goal and long-term form of thinking, because you don't want to do things just for money and then in the long term things don't work out because you just cared about money. You want to be able to care about more than just the money when it comes to this, because at the end of the day, if you want something long term, if you want to build a brand, there's so much more than just money at stake when you're building your brand and your legacy, whether it's a business brand or a personal brand. And being an influencer is a part of a personal brand. An influencer does have a personal brand, and but an influencer can also have a business brand as well. I feel like Gwen Lane does have it a little bit separated. I think her main brand is the LA Girl. It's not necessarily a personal brand because it is separate. It's not her. She does mention that the LA Girl is not her. The LA Girl is what she is a part of. She is an LA girl, but she isn't the only LA girl, and so because of that, she isn't the brand. The brand is separate from her. So it's also how we really distinguish what a brand is to us, what a personal brand is versus what a business brand is. Now, I'm going to go over some of the vanity metrics because, of course, we like to go over things to be able to see what we can and cannot do, or not really what we can't do, but what we can do in this process. Also, if you guys want to watch a visual aspect of my podcast, I do have this in a visual under Victoria Nicole on YouTube, so go check it out. Sometimes it's fun, sometimes you just want to be able to see who's talking to you through the podcast. Sometimes people just want to listen to the podcast, or sometimes, you want to have some sort of visual, see who's talking, see who is in the realm of lifespan in this world. And sometimes you just want to have a few visuals, just to, check it out. So if you want to do that, I do have a video version of my podcast, so you can check that out. Also, now back to Gwen Lane's The LA Girl metrics. So she does have two different Instagrams, The LA Girl and Spark Society. On The LA Girl, her Instagram is at 129K followers. She does make 67 to 100 comments. She does about 300 to 4K likes, and she posts around like once a day. On her Instagram, on Spark Society, she does 14.5K followers. She has 40 to 59 comments, and she does around 79 to 158 likes per post. She does Twitter, and she has about 26.8K followers, and she posts around 3 to 5 times per week. And she does have a podcast. The podcast is, I am pretty sure it's different from, I'm not quite sure what her podcast is, but I'll link it in the show notes down below. Also, if you guys are listening to this on Apple Music, on any other, podcast platform, I do write show notes in my website. I do have on strongwomensticktogether.com. I do have show notes that I kind of pinpoint, like, what are the main things to focus on, what do I think is important, and anything that I do mention here, any links, I do have on my website as well. So I will put up the name of her podcast. Off the top of my head, I completely forgot. Now, she does have 27 episodes on her podcast. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little tidbit. I know, I'm so horrible at ending the podcast, but it is what it is. I will be creating, because I noticed that in the last episode I didn't have my my microphone on. For whatever reason, it didn't go through, so I am going to redo my end chat, end notes, my end screen, my end of the podcast. I will be creating that. So if you want to check that out on my podcast, go and check that out. But for now, go check out this little beautiful 31 Days of Halloween Women's Edition playlist of my podcast, Strong Women Stick Together. Love you guys. Bye.